Hello everybody, how you all doing today? It's been quite some time since we've done a Magic the Gathering deck profile on this channel. I do apologize about that, guys. A lot of things have been coming up as of late, and a lot of things have been bugging me to the point where it became very hard, very difficult to do any Magic content on this channel. And quite a bit of things have changed up to me personally ever since the last profile I've done for a while on this channel. And a lot of things I'll be updating to you guys about what's been going on with Magic content. I'll be doing that in an upcoming channel update video very shortly, coming up very shortly. Anyways, guys, I want to show you guys a Magic profile that's been kind of my more go-to deck when I grow my locals as of late. If you guys remember my very first profile, I've always said Mono Red Dragons has been my more preferred deck, but recently that's been changing quite a bit, and it ended up becoming my Red Green Dragon deck actually. Now there are some changes. I do plan on doing the deck very soon. I'll explain some ideas I've had for this deck in the profile. I'll explain my ideas, what I got going for this deck right here. But as of right now, this deck has been showing a lot of promise, a lot of potential, and it's been holding its ground very hard, very aggressively, and very dominant against a lot of decks that you would not think this deck would go toe-to-toe with. And I'm really proud of how this build is so far in general, especially the fact that this deck is a dragon deck as well. And you guys know how much I love dragons, so of course this has been my go-to deck as of late, ever since for the longest while. And I'll explain to you guys the tech choices I've been doing here and there, and what I've been doing with the deck here and there once we get the profile here and there. So, for those of you guys who are just here to Net Deck, I will leave the deck list in the description down below. For those of you guys who are just here at Net Deck, I only ask that you drop a like on your way out and check out the links in the description down below on your way out. It means a lot to me. It's very appreciative. And with that being said, let's move on straight into the deck profile right now, shall we? So before we go to the main deck right here, let's get the lands out of the way real quick. So for lands, we play 4 copies of Stomping Ground. I only have 1 right now, but I did order the other 4, and it's coming. There's 3, excuse me. I did order the other 3; they're coming very shortly. And then 4 copies of Rootbound Crag. Obviously, this is a red-green modern deck right here, so of course it's going to be your go-to land ratio for this deck right here. This is your best land ratio for dual lands when you want to play red and green right here. At least for right now, at the moment. There are some other variety options for red and green for dual land wise, but I feel like these are like the best options for me right now at the moment. Rootbound Crag and are just nice because it doesn't come in tagged as long as you control a mountain green or mountain or forest, and this comes in untagged as long as you pay 2 life. So get the red and green that you really need immediately, so you can start doing your plays from there on such. And for the rest of the lands, all is just basics. All we play for the rest of the lands is we play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 forests, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mountains. That's about it, right? Such. Now, even though this deck is more focused on red than it is green, shockingly, we play more forests than we do mountains because this deck is very reliant on your mana producers, very importantly. So this is why the forest is very more reliable than mountains are, because you really want to see more green than red, shockingly, because you definitely want to be able to produce out your mana producers very fast. Because the faster you get out your Birds of Paradise, your Salvage Scrying, etc., such, the faster you'll be able to bring your dragons. And this right here gives you the access to your dragon plays very fast, very relatively very fast. So that right there is your lands right there. I believe that's 20 lands right there total right there. So that's it for the lands. Now for the main deck right there, let's get the creatures out first. Just like before, we're still playing 2 copies of Dragonlord Atarka and Atarka World Renders. That's still the same as before right here. This is just your go-to guys right here. If these guys were not legendary, I would definitely be pumping up a World Render Atarka at least 3 or 4 right now for this deck right here, because Atarka World Render is just absolutely amazing for this deck right here. The fact that all your dragons, your attacking dragons, gain double strike, followed by the fact that he already has trample built in, it's just very hard. It's just very powerful to your opponent, because it literally limits your opponent's defensive plays right here. And Dragonlord Atarka is just great against those decks that busts out those weak dudes very fastly, those aggressive 1/1 dudes, like goblins for example. And this is just a good way to shut down those annoying fast low cost decks right here, because this just says no bro, you're not getting that win easy out of me. I'm gonna drop this guy and I'm shutting down these guys right here, whereas Target World Render can just allow you just push in for game very fast, very heavily. And this is just really nice right here. Like I said, if World Render was not legendary, I'd be playing 3 or 4 of him. But unfortunately, he's a legendary, so we can only play two of them right now. Next up, we played 2 copies of Savage Ventmaw. Previously, I believe I was playing 4 of him, but I ended up cutting him down to 2 instead of 4 because I actually do have a lot of mana producing cards as it is, and by the time you get to late to mid game, his ability doesn't really seem be that reliant and really that useful as you may think all the time. But just in case, it is better to have at least some of him than none of him at all. The ability which gives you 3 red, 3 green mana to your mana pool for free every time he attacks is still a very good, useful ability regardless in general. Especially if you want to drop more dragons and drop more important cards here and there. So Ventmaw is still a useful card, just not as reliant as you may think. But it's definitely better to have some Ventmaws than no Ventmaws at all. So that's why 2 of them is just fine as it is. And the next set, we played 3 copies of Gloarybringer. I believe I was playing 4 of him before, but I think I'm now playing 3 of him. 3 of him is just fine right here, because you are playing quite a bit of dragons as it is, and quite a bit of your dragons do have all powerful plays, as explained earlier. So you don't really need 4 of him. I do have that 4th one in sideboard just in case if I do need the 4th one, but as of right now, 3 is just fine. Gloarybringer is just really nice because he picks all those annoying big creatures that you don't want to deal with, and he's just really nice because he allows you to do a lot of aggressive plays here and there, and I just like Gloarybringer at 3 as of right now. Now, a lot of people kept on ripping on me about taking this guy out in my deck, but I did it for a little bit, and I learned the hard way that you kind of do need him, and that is 3 copies of Scourge of Valkas. Valkas is just amazing in Dragon decks in general, especially at 3 of them. And I took him out for a little bit, and he was not working out a little bit at all than I thought. Keep in mind, this deck does use a little bit of green as well, and you're not playing as much burn cards as you would have liked to use. So you need as much burn power as you possibly can. Especially consider the fact that your deck is all about spamming out dragons. And the more you spam out dragons, the more burn you do to your opponent's creatures and to your opponent as well. So that's why 3 of Scourge is what you need right here. You could cut down to 2 and it would work just fine right here, but that's based on player's preference. To me, I think 3 works out just fine for this deck right here. Still playing the 3 Stormbreath Dragon. Stormbreath is just amazing right now. Pro white, so he doesn't get hit cards by Path of Exile or anything like that. And he's just a flyer haste right there when you need it most. And you don't ever use the monstrosity really that often, but it is really nice to have it there, especially considering the fact that you have a lot of cards that give you mana, like Ventmaw, as I explained earlier. You have Birds of Paradise, you have Sultan's Scrying, all that good stuff. So the monstrosity ability does come up when you least expect it, and even if the monstrosity doesn't kill your opponent, worst case scenario, he's still a 7/7. Which by the time that he becomes 7/7, he will definitely almost guarantee you the game by then. And then for the rest of the deck, for the rest of the dragons, we have still playing the 4 copies of Thunderbreak Regent. I have admitted that I have thought about cutting him down to 3 or 2 per deck right here because he's not as explosive as he used to be back when I first got him, but he is still a very good card nonetheless. He's one of those cards where if he's not that hard of a big deal to deal with, but if he's ignored, he becomes a huge problem to your opponent very quickly, especially considering the fact that this deck is a dragon deck. So if you get at least 2 of him and 1 other dragon in particular with them together, he becomes a handful very fast. The fact that your opponent has to take 3 damage every time they do a targeting ability hurts your opponent very much, especially, like I said, if you get at least two of them out at least. If you have at least 2 of him out and another dragon out together, your opponent is going to take 6 damage just to do a target removal ability right there. And if you have 3 of these bad boys out, that you might as well just off your opponent and just give him a handshake because you just got a free win right there. Because in order to do a target removal ability, that's like 9 damage or more once you get them going. So these guys become a handful very fast. But I have pondered about cutting them out down to 3 and maybe putting like a nerve dragon. I'm not sure. We'll see what happens in the near future. And that's it for the dragons. Now for the mana producers, we play 3 copies of the Sage right here. I actually took her out for a little bit. I was playing her before, and I took her out for a little bit, and she's not the best. but she's definitely a very useful card. And when I took her out a little bit, my deck did become a little bit sluggish. And when I put her back in, the deck became a lot more faster. The fact that you could just tap her at 3 mana to cast your dragons makes her a much more useful, versatile card, especially when you're trying to drop the big dragons here and there. The fact that you just tap her for 3 and get 3 mana and be able to bust up the dragons like there's no tomorrow makes her a very reliable card. With her being a 0/1, makes her a big target, especially the fact that she requires 3 mana. But once you get her going and once you start dropping your dragons, she becomes worthless so fast, very quickly. And then next up we play 4 copies of the Selvin, Hexproof that can be a Hexproof 0/3 defender, which is always pretty good in most decks these days. Followed by the fact that you can tap and get any mana, always helps the deck. Very, very useful, helps them make some versatile plays. And then of course 4 copies of Birds of Paradise, because Birds of Paradise. Because Birds of Paradise cat taps it, gets it any mana you need. Can't go wrong with Birdie, especially if you get a first turn Birdie. Make your plays from there on such. And that is it for the creature lineup. Now for the enchantment lineup, because we are playing enchantments. We're still playing Dragon Tempest. I believe before I was playing 4 Tempest earlier. I ended up cutting it down to 3 because I did realize I am playing 3 Scourges. So you really only need 3 Tempest, at least right now at the moment. Tempest is just an amazing card because it not only gives all your flyers haste, but every time you drop a dragon, you burn 1 damage to target creature or player for every dragon you control, just like Scourge does. So it adds more burning, more aggressive plays, more dominant plays, and more control plays as well. And nice thing you like to do with Tempest is that it gives all your flyers haste. So even cards like Birds of Paradise, I've gone through games where, say I want to play Thunderbreak Regent, I would have 3 forests and a mountain, right? Thanks to this giving this guy haste or whatever such, I would go tap 1 forest, play my birdie, and then thanks to this card giving him haste, I would tap. He can now be tapped. He now has haste, so I can use his ability immediately. So I would tap the birdie immediately, then my second mountain and my 2 forests, and boom, I can be able to drop my Thunderbreak Regent right there instead. So it adds a lot of versatile plays, and you can do a lot of explosive plays there on very quickly with this deck right here. And then the rest of the profiles is just instants. For instance, we play 3 copies of Sarkhan's Triumph because adding dragons deck to your hand it's always very nice. Can't go wrong with that. And finally, to wrap up the deck profile, we play 4 copies of Lightning Bolt. Not only to potentially go for a game, finish off your opponent, but also pop off those certain creatures every now and then, especially combo off cards like Gloarybringer or your Scourge or your Tempest, and either to finish off your opponent or finish off a certain creature or planeswalker that's annoying you and you really want to pop out that annoying card really fast, really quickly. And yeah guys, that right there was my red-green modern deck profile. It has gone through quite a bit of changes, like I said, and I am happy with how the build is so far. I do have in mind of adding other cards to make this deck maybe a little bit more faster, maybe. I thought about adding Steel Hellkite. I thought about adding Ugin, maybe. I thought about adding in Bellfire Dragon. That seems like an interesting dragon to add into the deck right here. I'm not really too sure, but that all does seem like really good ideas. And maybe another mana producer card. Like I definitely want to add in a mana producer card in this deck as well. Like, what's that one shaman dude? I remember his stats and everything, his mana requirement and everything too. I just don't remember his name. I might want to add at least 2 or 3 copies of that guy right here. He's a human shaman. He requires 1 green, 1 of anything. I believe he's a 1/1, just like Birds of Paradise. He can be tapped to add any blue, red, or green. That was weird. He can add any 1 blue, red, or green mana to your mana pool, so more mana producing as well. I've also thought about adding in Dragonlord Atarka just because of his amazing ability, where none of your stuff can be countered. The only downside with Atarka is that he's a white card. He requires green white. Even though I do have mana producers, that might be kind of a gamble card play, if you know what I mean. And speaking of gamble cards, I've also thought about playing Sarkhan the Unbroken, even though he requires a blue. along with the red and green. Like I said, I do have mana producers, so maybe he could work out. I'm not really too sure. Let me know what you guys think about those ideas in the comment section down below. Also, let me know what you think about this deck profile in the comment section down below as well. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see y'all in this video. And I'm out. Bye. Peace.